Pardon me. All right, welcome back, and everyone, to another video going over the women's games from yesterday. And we had a lot of exciting matchups yesterday. So without further ado, we are going to dive into that. The first matchup, and it will take us to Indianapolis, Indiana, where number 5 Marion hosted Mount Vernon Nazarene, and Marion, no problem here, 94-42. And Melody Blueball getting her first starting time this year, 15 points, 5 of 12 shooting, 4 of 11 from deep, 4 rebounds, and a steal for her. And then Abigail Hardwick did not score, but she had 3 assists. 5 points for Lily Shepard. 2 of the 5 were at the charity stripe, though. 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. And 5 points for Angela Roshak with 4 rebounds, 2 steals. And then, pardon me, then off the bench, you had Addie Beard in 4 minutes of action, had 1 rebound. Naomi Kaib had 3 points in 26 minutes of action, 1 of 3 shooting, 4 rebounds, 2 assists for her. And then Jenna Brumbaugh did not score, but she had one rebound. And then 10 points for Anna Swisshelm off the bench, 3 of 6 shooting, 3 of 5 at the line with 5 rebounds. And only 4 points for Kylie Leibacher, but she had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, though. And MVNU struggled shooting at just 29, really struggled from 3 at 28, and they struggled at the free throw line, converting 7 out of 12 for just 58%. Now, the other downside for Mount Vernon was that they were forced into 33 turnovers, and Marion scored 44 points off those 33 turnovers, so that obviously pretty much tells you all you need to know there. Marion, though, only had 14 turnovers. And looking at stats for Marion, they were led by Abby McNally. Really no surprise here. 28 points, 9 of 12 shooting, a perfect 10 of 10 of a charity stripe, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 steals. 10 points for Kylie McNally off 3 of 8 shooting, 1 of 1 from deep, 3 of 5 at the line, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. 10 points for Madison Bailey off 5 of 5 shooting, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. And then 3 points for Taylor Double, but she had 1 rebound and 1 assist, though. And only 2 points for Olivia Faust, but she had 2 rebounds and 2 assists. Off the bench, you had 4 points for Aubrey Frank with 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. 7 points for Kennedy Coleman off 3 of 3 shooting and 11 rebounds. So really amazing to see that. 3 steals as well. 3 points for Emma Simpson in just 7 minutes of action with 2 rebounds. And then 3 points for Violet Shuluga, which was all at the charity stripe, though. And then 2 points for Zoe Wheeler with 2 rebounds. You also had 9 points for Eva Fisher, 3 of 6 shooting, 3 of 4 at the line with a rebound, an assist, and a steal. 1 point for Emily Grimm, which was a charity stripe with 3 rebounds. And Kenna Kirby off the bench, 12 points, 5 of 8 shooting with 7 steals, 5 assists, and 1 rebound. So really good productive numbers there. And Marion shot 54 from the field, struggled from 3 at 25. They were way better at the free throw line, converting 23 out of 32 for 71%. And that was your matchup there. And the next matchup will take us down to Winona Lake, where Grace hosted Spring Arbor. And Spring Arbor, no problem here, 100-35. The final score here, and the Cougars only had 12 turnovers. They forced the Lancers into 30, so that obviously tells you all you need to know. And Spring Arbor really lit up the stat sheet. 12 points for Haven Chapman, 5 of 10 shooting, 2 of 4 from deep, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. 10 points for Emma Smyska, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal. 9 points for Ashley Weller with 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. 6 points for Elena Kolesa, 2 of 4 shooting with 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. 7 points for Megan Zeitz with 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Off the bench, Elena Blumberg with 3 points with 2 rebounds. Lexi Linder had 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 rebound, did not score. Madison Socini, 15 points off, and this is all off the bench, I might add. 6 of 9 shooting for Socini, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. 10 points for Rachel Reichard, off 4 of 6 shooting, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. 10 points for Rylan Goodwin, 3 of 8 shooting, 2 of 4 from deep, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. 3 points for Aubrey Crockett with 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. 5 points for Aubrey Calloway with 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. 10 points for Kylie Summer off 4 of 6 shooting, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc, 3 rebounds, and an assist. And then the only 2 that did not score off the bench was Cami Boonstra and Lexi Linder. Boonstra did have 4 rebounds, though, in just 5 minutes of action. And the Cougars shot really good from the field at 44, really good from 3 at 42. They did struggle at the free throw line, converting 11 out of 18 for 61. And for the Lancers, they shot way worse from the field at 21 and a dismal 7.4% from 3, just 2 of 27, and struggled at the free throw line, converting 9 out of 17 for 52. A bright spot for Grace was Emma Sperry with 13 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and a steal. And Braylon Terrell did not score, but she did have 14 rebounds, though, and 4 blocks. Really, really good to see that. Only 5 points for Morgan Howe because she had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Only 2 points for Maddie Pointer with 5 rebounds. And then you also had Becca Longenbaugh with 2 steals and an assist. Did not score, I might add. Then Abby Ritzema off the bench, 3 of 6 at the line, which was all 3 points that she scored. 2 assists, 1 steal, and a rebound. Then Kate Thomas had 1 rebound, did not score. Molly Long, 8 minutes of action, did not score, but had a rebound, though. And then Paula Fernandez, 4 minutes of action, did not score, but had a rebound. Ava Yordi, 7 minutes of action, 2 points with 1 rebound. And then Becca Gert, in 10 points, 3 of 10 shooting, 4-4 at the line with 8 rebounds and 1 steal. And that was your matchup there. The next matchup will take us to Goshen, Indiana, where Goshen faced off against Taylor. And I alluded to this on the men's side, that the men upset Taylor, and so did Goshen women, 73-64, a huge upset here. And for the Trojans, they were led by Casey Warfel, 21 points, 7 of 19 shooting, 6-7 at the line, though, with 6 steals. Really, really good numbers there. Only 2 points for Selena Blount, but she had 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 2 blocks, though. Emma Anselet only with 2 points with an assist and a steal. And Quinn Kelly did not score, but she did have 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal, though. And then 10 points for Maddie Allen off 4 of 10 shooting with 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Off the bench, 15 points for Emma Full, 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 6 from deep, 5 assists, 5 steals, 3 rebounds. And then you had Kendall Seitzema only had 1 rebound in 8 minutes of action, and Marissa Trout, 10 points off 4 of 12 shooting with 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Kaylin Bunch in 4 minutes of action scored 1 point. That was at the free throw line. And Micaiah Musselman, 6 minutes of action with 3 points and 2 rebounds. And the Trojans shot 36 from the field, 20 from 3, so not good numbers there. The free throw line, yeah, kind of okay, 12 of 18 for 66. Now, for the Maple Leafs, they shot way better from the field at 49, way better from 3 at 50, and for the first time in 5 games, they were actually above 50% from the free throw line, converting 11 out of 18 for 61. And they had some good balanced scoring, too. 16 points for Ava Egoff with 5 assists and 2 rebounds. 7 points for Lillian Null, 2 of 3 shooting, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. 11 points for Kyla Foster, off 5 of 7 shooting with 12 rebounds, so a double-double for her. 7 assists, 2 steals. 16 points for Carrie Heiler, off 5 of 12 shooting, 3 of 9 from deep, 3 of 4 at the line with a rebound, a steal, and a block. Sarah Elfrey, 5 points, 2 of 3 shooting, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. And then off the bench, you had Ziane Finesse with a rebound. You had Niaza Goss with 14 points, 4 of 10 shooting, 3 of 4 from deep, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. And that was your matchup there. The next matchup will take us to Mishawaka, Indiana, where Bethel hosted number 6 St. Francis, and St. Francis prevailing here, avoiding a massive upset. And for Bethel, they were looking for a second straight upset win, and unfortunately just fell a little bit short, but still taking number 6 to the final buzzer. Obviously a huge accomplishment for the Pilots under head coach Scott Paulsgrove and his assistant coach Austin Hawkins, that is for sure. 65-64, St. Francis prevailing here, and both teams did not shoot the ball too terribly bad. And obviously you would have liked to have seen the results be a little bit better in terms of the shooting. For St. Francis, they were held to just 38% shooting from the field, 30 from deep, 10 of 16 at the line for 62.5%. Now, the one downside for St. Francis was they had 20 turnovers. Bethel had 22 turnovers, so pretty even there. And for St. Francis, they were led by Callie Gregory. Really no surprise here. 21 points, 7 of 14 shooting, 4 of 9 from beyond the arc. She had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal. 11 points for Taylor Fordyce with 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. 9 points for Julia Mantala with 3 rebounds, 3 steals, and a block, though. 9 points for Isabella Gizzi. Now, she did struggle shooting, but she was a perfect 3 of 3 at the charity stripe, including 2 clutch free throws in the late stages of the game. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals for her. And Samaya Stout getting her first starting time. Did not score either, but she did have 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, though. And off the bench, Ashley Cox with 2 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound. 13 points for Allison Show, off 5 of 8 shooting, 3 of 3 at the line, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. And then Emma Royce did not score in 17 minutes of action. And looking up stats for the Pilots, they were even from the field at 38, slightly better from 3 at 37. They were way better at the free throw line, converting 13 out of 16 for 81. And looking up stats for Bethel, they were led by Isabel Scales, 16 points, 4 of 10 shooting, 7 of 9 at the line, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. Only 7 points for Olivia Nickerson, 2 of 4 from deep. She also had 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals, and a block, though. 11 points for Jasmine Smith, 3 of 5 shooting, 5 of 5 at the line, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 blocks. And they also had 12 points for Isabella No, the freshman, 5 of 13 shooting, 2 of 6 from deep, 8 rebounds, 3 assists for her. And then you had 7 points for Mariah Claywell off 3 of 9 shooting with 1 rebound, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Really, really good to see that. And then off the bench, Hannah Ruddle with 2 points in 10 minutes of action, plus 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block as well. 3 points for Jocelyn Marshall in 8 minutes of action with a rebound. 6 points for Justice Williams off 2 of 3 shooting from deep. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and a steal. And then Love Rain Gaskins did not score off the bench, but she did have 2 rebounds, though. And that was your matchup there. And the final matchup takes us to Marion, Indiana, where receiving votes Indiana Wesleyan faced off against receiving votes Huntington. And this was a barn burner of a game, I will say, and it was a double overtime thriller, and that it did favor Huntington very narrowly, 76-74. So the Lady Foresters sweep the Lady Wildcats for the first time in 7 years since the 2018/2019 season. And for head coach Dari Maggard, she picks up her very first win in Lucky Arena as head coach of the Foresters. And obviously for the Wildcat fans, myself included, it was a really, really tough result to swallow in a game that was just back and forth. And to me, you know, it's just so tough when you lose a competitive game like that. The Wildcats, though, coming in and won 4 straight games, and then, of course, the winning streak is over. And not just that, but Emily Mattingly, unfortunately, suffered another injury yesterday. So, and barring a miracle, which I'm a firm believer in miracles, but barring a miracle, I'm very skeptical on her chances of playing the rest of this season. So if she's out for the remainder of the season, that is going to be really, really tough for the Wildcats. She's your 3rd leading scorer. And again, this has been the story of the Wildcats season. It's just been the inconsistencies this year plus the injuries. And you look at it, at the box score, they outscored Huntington 17-3 in the second quarter, took an 8-point lead into halftime, and for the first time since the Bethel of Tennessee game back in the early part of the season, the Wildcats had a lead at halftime, were unable to close it out, only their 2nd loss of the year when leading at halftime. So again, those still are not too terribly bad in terms of records, that's for sure. And what's kind of an even crazier stat is with me and my family in attendance, I'll just say this, since it's like right up to my tongue. An even crazier statistic is with me and my family in attendance this year at Indiana Wesleyan games, they are now 2-7 with us in attendance, and that's just crazy to think about, especially because the times we've attended in previous years, like all of last year, they only lost 1 game with us in attendance. That was that senior day loss to Marion, but that was without Lily Frazier that game. So you look at the Wildcats from a year ago with us in attendance, with everybody fully healthy, they went undefeated last year with us in attendance, with everybody fully healthy. And boy, what a difference a year makes, that is for sure. Now, obviously, this is not the same Lady Wildcats team that we've seen from years past. I mean, I think everybody knows that, they understand that, but it's like the Wildcats, they are just so close to winning these big games. Now, obviously, they did sweep St. Francis this year, which is a major achievement for them, but outside of that, they just really do not have a good quality win this year. Now, they do have the opportunity to do that on the road at Spring Arbor on Saturday, and then at home against Marion next Wednesday. So, again, it's going to be interesting to see how all of it plays out, that's for sure. Now, what's kind of crazier for the Wildcats is that Ayla Krieger lit it up for the Wildcats. 40 points scored for her. That tied the all-time program record set by NAIA Hall of Famer Julie Howarth, who played for the Wildcats back from 2007 to 2011. So a huge, huge, amazing achievement to Ayla. Congratulations to her on a job very well done. And it's just, and really outside of her. Now, I mean, I know on the box score, the shooting numbers are going to say the Lady Wildcats shot 40% from the field. Now, really all of that was Krieger herself. And really outside of Krieger, if you do the math, the Wildcats only shot 10% from the field outside of Krieger. So it's just, I mean, it doesn't really matter, what team you play, no matter what division level you are. If you shoot 10, 20% from the field outside of one player, you're not going to win very many games. And again, like I mentioned, it's just been the inconsistencies this year. The Wildcats just have not been able to put a full, solid 40 minutes together of basketball, at least not against these top tier teams in the conference, except St. Francis, which is kind of crazy to think about. And figure in the third quarter, the Wildcats were outscored 20-4. They outscored the Foresters 19-11 in the fourth quarter, and both teams could not gain any separation in the first overtime, and really no separation in the fourth overtime either. And looking up stats for Huntington, they shot 57% from the field. Now, really the only one outside of that, I mean, it's kind of one of those games to where Huntington's just red hot right now. And they, of course, they're already locked in a national tournament. There's no doubt about that. But anytime a team shoots 60% from the field, as tough as what the pill was to swallow, what the Wildcats, lost last night, it really, all you got to do, all you can do is just pat Huntington on the back and tell them they did a great job. Because now, it's easy to say that the Wildcats should have won that game, but at the same time, if you only shoot 20, 25% from the field outside of one player and the other team shoots 60%, there's just really nothing you can do about that. So the Foresters, they've just been red hot. These last three games, the Lady Foresters overall have shot 50% from the field or higher in all three of those games. So they are just red hot right now. And I do think in terms of a national tournament bid, perhaps a national tournament bid for the Lady Wildcats, I think the game last night helps them, especially because when you took an elite team like Huntington, who's already in the national tournament, well into the national tournament, and you took a team like them that's so tough to guard, so tough to beat, and you took them to the brink at home in double overtime, I really, really hope and pray that the NAIA selection committee takes a good, close look at that game, because I honestly think that game really helps the Lady Wildcats for a national tournament bid, whereas if they would have lost by 15, 20, 25 points, which outside of Ayla Krieger they definitely would have, if you lose by that much, I don't think that you're even in the conversation for nationals. But because Ayla Krieger went off, it definitely helps you. And honestly, you look at the last three matches, or really the last, because you have the first matchup and then the last three matchups. Of course, you had the first matchup this year, 17-point loss to Huntington, and then last year you beat them by 19 at home. And then, and the first matchup last year, you beat them at their place by 2 points. And really, yesterday's game literally reminded me of that matchup at Huntington last season, where it was a 2-point IWU win to keep IWU undefeated when Gabby Melby went off for 37 points. And then literally a year later at IWU, somebody goes off for literally just about the same amount of points, and then Huntington comes out on the winning end by 2 points. So literally a carbon copy of that first matchup last year at Huntington. And sometimes games just go that way, that's for sure. But again, for the Wildcats, I think they're going to be way better next year, way more, great recruiting class coming in, as well as, hopefully several transfers. That's going to help with size down low in the post. So things are definitely bright for the Lady Wildcats next year to hopefully be, and again, I don't think they're going to go all the way to the national tournament game next year. However, I really think that next year they are going to make a super deep run, and I think at least go to the Sweet 16, if not the Elite 8 next year, because not only do you have incoming transfers, hopefully, but not only the great recruiting class, but you also have a great group of returners next year. You'll get Emily Mattingly back fully healthy next year, her final year. You'll also have not just her, but you'll have Kennedy Fueling able to play next year, transferred from Marion, played great at Marion last year, and then you'll have Bria Garber back healthy fully next year, as she can provide a great spark off the bench from three-point range. So you're literally going to be looking way, way better next year for sure. And looking up stats for Huntington, you had 23 points for Liv Raby, 6 of 6 of the line, 8 of 13 shooting, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. 16 points for Addie Shank, 4 of 8 shooting, 8 of 11 at the line, 13 rebounds, so a double-double for her. 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. And then you had 19 points for Annika Nelson, 8 of 11 shooting, 3 of 6 from deep. She just lit it up for the Foresters. Once again, just like the first matchup against them, 2 rebounds, 2 assists for her, 11 points for Kendra Sheets, 5 of 11 were at the charity stripe, though, very similar to the first matchup this year. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals for her. And then Kendall Yoakum off the bench, 3 of 8 shooting with 3 rebounds and 2 assists. And I alluded to 57% shooting from the field for Huntington, 29 from deep. They were good at the free throw line, converting 19 out of 23 for 82. Now, they did have 19 turnovers. IWU turned that into 27 points. So really, for the first time this year, when IWU outscores their opponent off turnovers, I think this might be the first IWU loss this year where they've outscored their opponents in terms of points off turnovers, but it failed to win the game. So that's obviously kind of a crazy stat, because typically when IWU outscores the opponent in points off turnovers, 9 times out of 10, it's a win for sure. And looking at the stats for Indiana Wesleyan, Ayla Krieger, at 40 points, I alluded to that several minutes ago, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals for her, 5 of 5 at the line, 3 of 14 from deep, 16 of 31 from the field. Emily Mattingly, before her injury, 3 of 4 shooting with 7 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. And then you had 2 assists, 1 steal for Kylie Bettinger. You only had 5 points for Addie Hubby off 2 of 4 shooting, 1 of 1 from deep. She did foul out, though, so that obviously was another major factor, at least I think, into the loss without having her, because she's your second leading scorer. 5 rebounds, 1 assist for her, 6 points for Jade Hovey. Struggled shooting from the field, but was 2 of 2 at the line. 4 steals, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, and she had the game-tying layup that sent it into overtime at the end of regulation, just off of a beautiful pass, and she just drove right in. Huntington just did not pick her up, trying to guard her in the last couple seconds of the game that sent it to overtime. So that was just an absolutely crazy shot, that's for sure. Then off the bench, you had 3 points for Tori Thompson with 1 rebound, but really it was great defense for her. 8 points for Corinne Grivey, 3 of 4 shooting, 2 of 3 from deep, 3 rebounds, 1 assist for the redshirt junior. 2 points for Mila Browning. She had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. And then only 3 points for Ellie Kelleher in 10 minutes of action with 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and a steal. And the Wildcats shot 40% from the field. But again, pretty much all of that was Ayla Krieger. So really outside of that, the Wildcats only shot like 15-20% from the field. At least the rest of the team did, I should say. And the Wildcats struggled from deep at just 25%, 9 of 35, compared to 5 out of 17 for Huntington. So that pretty much tells you all you need to know. The other bright spot for the Wildcats, a perfect 7 of 7 at the charity stripe for 100%. And this is a team that only averages like 75% at the free throw line this year. So that obviously is a major, major factor, and something that obviously you'll definitely take all day. So looking at the updated standings, with 5 regular season games to go, you'll have Marian and St. Francis still tied for that number 1 seed at 11-2. Spring Arbor 1 game behind them at the 3 seed at 10-3. Huntington firmly in control of that number 4 seed at 9-4. I honestly don't see Huntington falling below 4th. So at this point, I definitely will call Huntington for at least 4th and their first ever home playoff game under head coach Darby Maggard. So that's really, really awesome for them. Then Indiana Wesleyan, the 5 seed, solely at 7-6. 1 game ahead of Taylor and Bethel, who are both 6-7, tied for 6th and 7th in the league. And then you have Grace and Mount Vernon Nazarene tied for 7th and 8th at 2-11. And Goshen, 1 game behind them, vying for the last playoff spot at 1-12. So you have a 3-horse race at the bottom for trying to get up to that number 8 spot. Now the good thing for the Lady Wildcats is they have clinched no worse than the 7 seed, because they are 5 games ahead of Grace. However, the Wildcats would be ahead of them because of sweeping St. Francis, and Grace got swept by St. Francis. So that common opponent tiebreaker would favor the Wildcats. So they have officially clinched no worse than the 7 seed. And I honestly think that Taylor will end up being the 7 seed. I think Taylor drops 4 out of their last 5. And I think that Taylor drops to the 7. I think Grace will definitely be the 8 seed. So your 7 and 8 more than likely are going to be Taylor and Grace. And then Bethel and Indiana Wesleyan, I believe, are going to fight it out for 5th and 6th. Huntington pretty much locked at that number 4 spot. Spring Arbor, I think, will be locked at that number 3 spot. And then St. Francis Marian fighting for that 1 and 2 spot. So that's how I see the playoff race shaping out as of today with 5 regular season games left. Again, anything can happen. Anybody can beat anybody. But that's how I see it playing out. So if you did enjoy this video, please either like, comment, or subscribe. Any one of those options helps me out greatly. I appreciate any feedback that you may provide me. So thanks so much for tuning into this video, and I'll be back with you on Saturday going over Sunday rather, going over recapping all the games from Saturday, and then on Monday going over the updated RPI numbers, which again, I'm really going to be curious at that. So again, make sure you stay tuned for all of that. So thanks so much for tuning into this video. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless.